welcome. Going by what Glenn was talking about, the easiest way would be to add that closed council in the regular agenda, and when you come before you start your meeting, is an amendment that there's going to be a closed portion, then it's recorded right away. Because if it started, the meeting started, and some guy's got, he said he's got it's a closed item, well then you take it down to the next meeting. Because this agenda has already been implemented, it's been approved, this is the way it should work. Is that your way?
I think there are probably a number of ways to do it, and that's a good one, that's one. I think what we would like to do is evaluate what fits well with your system here in consultation with your clerk. And look at the best model that works. But that certainly is one way of dealing with it.
Councilor Samson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you and Mr. Fournier, welcome and thank you. You'll have to pardon me. I do know your experience. Could you elaborate on it, please?
Alrighty. In 1975, I began my first job with the town of Penetanguishene in its planning department. And from that point onward, I progressed through to the town of Perth as both its planner and then its chief administrative officer. I then moved on to the United Counties of Leeds and Granville, and as its chief administrative officer from 1999 until 2007, when I supposedly retired.
Thank you. So are you appointed by the province as an integrity commissioner?
No, I am not, and I've chosen not to be, I've chosen simply to offer a service as a closed meeting investigator. And some communities now, for which I've retained, have moved to the integrity commissioner model. Okay, and that in and of itself would also can include the closed meeting investigation piece as well. But it's, at the present moment, it's an option. It's an option that communities have, and many have debated, and some have chosen it, and others have not.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for the volunteerism you're doing. However, it's my understanding that if a meeting's going to be called in the future, that we have a valuable clerk here who is a lawyer, a former lawyer, that all the documents could be presented 2 or 3 days in ahead, and it could be mentioned that one portion of the meeting will be in camera if needed. Now, if it's found out later at the meeting that something maybe a few councillors, and we don't all know the Ontario Municipal Act or Section 239, or we're not going to pretend to know it or never know it. And I was on the school board 21 years and I still don't know it, okay? But what I'm trying to say is that we could, if we see something that maybe should be, we could postpone it to the following meeting, discuss it with the clerk, and then come out with it. Is that correct?
I like it.
Okay. Next, we have people, with all due respect to Councillor Grant, it's my understanding that the Waterfront Committee met with an agenda with one item from the Museum Committee, which I sit on, and the Museum Committee did not advise me that they were going before the Waterfront Committee. So, in future, I'm going to advise the Museum Committee that I be put aware if any item that's come before a council committee, because I am the representative for the museum.
You're the representative for the council on the museum committee.
Right, on the museum. So next, it's my understanding that we had no Waterfront Committee prior to this, and we have a new Waterfront Committee now. Some of the older members that weren't chosen, I understand that they attend every meeting going because there's a lack of trust there. That's what I've been advised.
I've
been advised, Mr. Mayor.
Well, let me give you some advice right now. You want to stay clear of any allegations. You want to stick to the report presented by the investigator and nothing else.
All right. Any comments made here at this meeting?
You just talked about, you have any questions for Mr. Fournier about the report?
So it's my understanding that there'll be a general, that there's always people at these meetings. And they should be given a copy of the agenda, is that correct?
standard procedure.
Prior.
Yes, when an agenda is distributed, sometimes committees have lists of interested parties that they automatically send it out to.
Right.
But at least the agenda gets published, sent to its members. I would expect, but I'd have to.
So, as a taxpayer, they're entitled to see what's going on at that meeting.
Correct.
Okay. So, in future, to avoid these type of delays, you know, or making people feel uncomfortable, by having the agenda and presented to them, the item in camera should not be put in camera unless the clerk has verified and said, yes, there'll be two or three items that will be in camera. And if not, if something comes up that we feel uncomfortable, we could refer back for the next meeting. Is that how you would operate?
I like the model.
Thank you.
Any further questions?